All right, I want to call this meeting to order. Please rise. Nick, would you please have our prayer?
My Father, we thank you tonight for your grace and your mercy. Keep us ever mindful, Father, of this season and the reason for it. We thank you for the Lord Jesus Christ you sent to die in our stead. Guide and direct now tonight, my Father. Grant wisdom where it's needed. Let us say those things that will bring glory and honor to your name. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you've not already done so, please sign in. All right, we are all here. So, council will take a little bit of time and look over your minutes.
There's never enough room, you know?
I know. When you're ready, if someone wants to make a motion. Motion made by Daniel, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Any questions? All those in favor?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And you weren't here, okay.
1, 2 abstentions.
Yes. All right, moving on to our financial, oh, wait a minute. Okay. All I'm going to say about the 1782 notice is it is still a work in progress. We're meeting again, we've got some tweaks and some questions that needs to be answered. So we're meeting again in the morning to discuss it again. And Anton, you want to add anything, or?
Well, the good news is we're not going to be cutting anything that, was already decided on in the budget. So that part's good. It's just finalizing and making sure we're compliant. But we'll need a little more time to do that before I think the 11th is our deadline. So, yep.
All right, moving on to our financial reports. Sheila.
Can I make a couple comments?
Yes, you may.
So, turn your microphone on. So on the 1782 notice, again, the general fund and all of the other funds except for the levied funds were approved. There is strong concern with the highway, who, I don't know, for those of you who listened or got my email, they lost the community crossings grant, and they also were cut to 1.996 million. There has to be funding given. Where from, how, I don't know. I offered a couple suggestions. I'm almost 200% confident that DLGF is going to let us change numbers. We'll know that in the morning. And to be able to bring them up to at least the minimum of the $3,459,000 that is normally their budgets. If not, and/or if the council isn't going to commit, we know they cannot operate on that. So we've got to figure out a funding source for them. I don't have any other suggestions other than what I sent you in the email and possible options. Again, we'll know a lot more in the morning, but I would like for the council to at least agree or say that they know that they are gonna have to do something before January 1st, so they know how they can operate and what changes that they have to make as well.
So is that the deadline, January 1st?
No, we
Dec-
actually have to have our
December 11.
1782 back on Wednesday, which is, again, it's the 1782 form that we sign to say, yes, we have it, this is where the numbers are. If we want to make any requests for changes, which is what we've done with the highway, that is what we have to do before they'll come back. I expect them to come back by Friday to let us know what changes have been made, but they can't approve anything until we submit this actual notice. And
Okay,
if
thank you.
if those changes aren't made or there aren't adjustments, then again, you guys will have to decide where you're gonna figure out, come up with money from and what your overall options are of letting them operate.
So that needs to be done this year, before January.
Yes.
Okay.
We know that we had the, $250,000 grant match that we had budgeted for, which since they did not get the community crossings grant, that $250,000 could go toward their operating, but I know that's not a lot, but there is that.
The other possibility is with the crossings grant this year, you only got 1.415 million. You put a bigger match in there because we were originally told it was gonna be more. So we were allowed to encumber what that match wasn't for what they got this year, which I believe comes, it's like right at 1 point, I don't remember, don't have the note in front of me, but again, we can encumber what they're not using this year out of that line item in the grant match as well as increasing it if you need to in that one, so.
Yeah, that's true. So as far as the budget year 2025, we never actually spent anything from the match that we budgeted. Is that what you're saying?
There will still be some. I mean,
Okay.
they've already spent like 900 and, help me here, Benita, 900 and some $1,000 in the grant, or so they'll have that amount that we'll have to match. We just can't go over the 25% match amount.
Okay.
That's what they got written up for this year, was because they spent, we put the whole thing in there. But we are allowed to move that forward, what is unspent. So they know they need to spend the 1.4 million, and again, whatever is in there, I need a motion from you guys to encumber what is not spent this year, if you would, because I do need to encumber that in your January funds.
So does someone want to make that a motion?
I make that a motion that we encumber the monies that the highway department to carry over for 26. Is that what we're saying, Sheila?
Yes.
Also,
Motion made by Nick, seconded by Daniel. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Are you gonna add the 250,000 to it? Is that part of the motion?
I'm still hopeful that, like you said, that they'll come back and, once those numbers are changed, that they'll at least have their normal budget.
So what happens next year if this happens again?
Like
This is
all
ju-
of your other
This
funds,
is just a Band-Aid for this year.
this is just gonna be a Band-Aid for 2026, as is the majority of most of your funds. I literally spent all day yesterday going through every single fund and every single line item. Your cash balances have got to be watched. Your operating balances is, as we keep talking about, to make sure that there's enough there. Additional appropriations need to be few and far between. If they can
Exactly.
pay for it somewhere else and still maintain that budget, you know you have to do election and registration. Again, they cut her unfortunately down to 57,000 and she had a $134,000 budget. So your first January meeting, you'll have to do an additional appropriation, but that's expected. So again, you've got to watch your cash balances, and the more that you can save throughout the year, the better off you'll be to move into 2027. We still don't know what the state's gonna do to us for 2027. There's a legislative meeting, AIC meeting,
Yes, and
January the 27th.
I would like to go to that. Do I need to?
We all need to get registered if you
Yeah.
wanna go. I think it's a
Okay.
very important one to make sure there's a few of the county people there, if not all.
I will definitely be there.
I expect there to be changes that are going to govern the rest of 2026, starting in July 1st, depending on what the legislature does, as well as affect your 2027 budgets. So,
We had
can't
ta-
stress enough just to watch your cash balances and
balances.
make sure you're not overspending.
We had also talked about like transfers and possibly having that come before council as well.
On I think everything should,
Mm-hmm.
you guys should have copies of everything, even if it's, if it's in the same series, they can do it, that's part of the rules, but at least still make sure that you have copies. So
Right.
either get the departments in the habit of sending it to the council as well, or making sure that it's all there in your council meetings without giving you guys a manual every single time, but just to keep an eye on what they're spending and where they're going. I am encouraging everybody, whatever you have in your fund line items, to encumber them. If you can get a bill or whatever, the more that we can carry forward to help the little places that we know that we can't go back to, then we need to. Don't forget, you had over advertised $1 million in your general fund that was approved. Whether it is given back, it'll still be in your cash balance to appropriate. If you don't give it back, you can draw on that sum. But that doesn't mean that you want to spend it, because again, we need just as much as the current $6 million balance you have going into 2027 as well. So just be mindful of what everybody's spending, and we'll get you copies of everything, every meeting.
Are we payroll?
Yes.
Are we to submit that to you?
Nope,
or you
we'll
guys
do it.
are going to, okay.
So, as far as the budgets we advertised for '26, we had put in there money to advertise, above what we actually needed. I think the council should make a decision on whether to go ahead and trim all that out up front or not. There's arguments to be made both ways. I lean towards cutting it out because we obviously were not intending to spend it. We don't want to spend it. We purposely put it in there for advertisement purposes. What that does is that then increases the cash projection at the end of the year for all of those funds. So if you said you were going to spend $5 million, but you're really only needing $4 million, then obviously your cash balance is going to be $1 million higher at the end of the year than what you normally would have had. And we have varying degree of that for election registration, for reassessment. All of those funds, we had baked in a certain amount to give us some flexibility there. So the council could decide to make sure we go ahead and trim those down or reduce those down. The negative to that is that if you did have some requests mid-year for more money, then you'd have to do a regular additional appropriation process, where you do an advertisement, and they come and ask, and then you consider whether to approve it or not. Whereas if you left it in there, the council would have a line item in their budget that you would just already have, you could use for like an emergency. So there's pros and cons to it, but it's one thing to have it in the general under the councils, but I hesitate having an open line item in other funds. I just don't think that's good practice. So.
Besides under the council, we put, what were the other?
They're in the general fund, it is all
Right.
under the council.
That's what I thought.
It's the levied funds
The
that
other
you
levied
divided
funds.
the other. So it is still under the council. My concern is if that is given back, the state still has the authority to say yes or no on additional appropriations. Are they gonna be watching budgets as tight as we think they will? I just hate to give something back and then they say, well, no, we're not gonna let you, we give you $1 million and you returned it. So if it stays again, and we don't know what's gonna happen with the highway. So if some of it might be needed there. If not, it's a council decision on whether to give it back or not. And that does not have to be made until we further discuss tomorrow. You know, if you guys want to say based on what DLGF tells us in the morning, that's if you want to make the motion to go ahead and act on it, but give us the flexibility to hear what else the state says in the morning. Because again, if they're not going to do anything to help us change the highway numbers, there's not going to be any more coming in than what is already projected. And 1.9 million does not go that far. We hurt this year because we had to come up with an extra $1.5 million to pay back claims. That's kind of why our cash balances are behind. And any way we can help fix them or get them back up there is to me, the best avenue to go.
I think we'll be fine on highway because your fund report clearly indicates that there's more cash in there than what was projected in June. And we also have a sizable portion of the additional appropriation we did earlier this year that's not been needed or not been used. Both of those factors significantly change the outcome at the end of next year to our advantage and helps fund that budget without any particular issue. You also have to remember highway receive monthly distributions. It's not a every 6 months type of thing. You know, they're regular and fairly steady other than maybe August, but most revenue that comes in is on a monthly basis and is fairly consistent based on the distribution the state gives us. So I'm not particularly concerned with highway. It's going to be tight, but I don't really think it's going to be of such significant difference, in my opinion, so.
I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit there. It's gonna be more than tight. The two most important things in this county is public safety and infrastructure. Now, we lost our CCNG money. They cut the budget 75% from $400 million to $100 million. General Assembly did. You know, we made it perfectly clear to the commissioners that for us, with the path that we're on, we want to make sure the roads are done right. Ditching, culverts, all that good stuff, you know, before we chip and seal or paving. Every dollar that we can gain is an upper hand for the taxpayer. They've done without long enough on the roads. We have got an excellent plan put in place, but if we don't get the money, well, what do we tell the taxpayers? Every day, it's more than tight. You know, and
I think what Anton's saying is, we have the avenue here to get it back up to what your 2025 budget was. Now, it's not gonna be over that, but we have the path to get it to the base of what, 3.4, 3.2?
Correct.
To where
that's a good path to be, and I appreciate that. That is a good path to be on, but we have to look ahead of the picture. We gotta look beyond if we possibly can. The $1 million you have in your general fund, I understand both sides of the fence, but you should hang on to that at least for a while till you know what's gonna be coming. I mean, you're gonna have situations that's gonna rise throughout the course of the year, and if you had that $1 million sitting there, that's a bucket of money you can spend instead of having come from, you know, all the time for additional appropriations and stuff like that. That's, I mean, you know, maybe DGL, whatever, how you pronounce it, will come and give you guys some good news tomorrow. But if they don't give you that good news, the county highway cannot operate on a $2 million budget. We're done. We simply can't. $2 million is not gonna go nowhere with county highway. So I think every dime's gonna be crucial that we can get or hang on to until you know what the final answer is going to be.
I could see both sides. There's, like you said, there's arguments on both. I kind of lean toward, you know, wanting to hang on to that, just in case they don't come back and bring the highway up to their regular budget. But then if they do, we've been very frugal with what we had this year. I mean, we didn't spend hardly any of the extra that we had in the council budget. So, just because it is there doesn't mean to spend it. But I also see what you're saying too, Anton.
Yeah, I just think from an accountability standpoint, when we started the budget process, we specifically told folks that the numbers were higher than what they needed to be because of flexibility in this process, and that those numbers would be dialed back and not be spent anyway when it's all said and done. I think we owe it to the taxpayer that's been watching this to follow through on that and to make sure that we trim them back as we thought we would. We're not giving it up. It's our money. We're not giving anything up. It's simply, instead of budgeting 5 when you only need 4, you're taking it back to 4 to match your budget, and you're leaving it at that. If you need mid-year to appropriate from your cash, then the cash is there, and you just go through the normal appropriation process. There's nothing lost. You're not giving anything up. It's just the order in which you're doing it. Is it a blank check up front, or is it a request and a process later? There's a difference there, and I think there's nothing wrong with having a process and being open about that, particularly when you're talking the other funds that, like EMS and reassessment and those kind of funds. I think we, at a minimum, need to take those out. I really think we should take the $1 million out of ours as well, or maybe most of it.
I really, really wish that we knew what they were going to do with highway. Like somebody.
Maybe I misunderstood, but Sheila, you kind of made it sound like it could be a gamble if we did pull it back out.
On the $1 million.
Yeah.
It's still in your cash balance. I don't see the state saying no unless you just are doing appropriation after appropriation, which is, again, going back to watching what you're approving along the way. If they thought we had enough to approve the budgets for the $7 million, then they obviously are still gonna think that you have that $1 million there. As long as the council understands, again, it might be needed for the highway. If it is needed for the highway, we would have to create a fund in the general fund because we can't transfer that to a levied fund. Those are your differences. But if it is cut, you can always ask for it back. I will say the additional appropriations this year, last year we had 8 full pages of additional appropriations. We only had 1 page and a second page with only 2 on it for 2025.
Great.
So we've come a long way on passing money out and
I think
giving.
we do need to continue that trend.
Definitely.
And we need to also be proactive, or I would request that our department heads be proactive. I think that we still have a tendency to come after the fact or kind of at the last minute when it should have been done 2 weeks prior or a month back. If you foresee financially that there is something coming down the pike that there's an issue with, it should be brought up as soon as that's known and not just become an emergency or a fire and then request it and we're out of time. There needs to be a lot more proactive approach to budgets and the additional appropriations anyway. Same with transfers for that matter.
Part of what I was going
So-
through yesterday, anytime an employee leaves and there's payout, the ordinance or policy is they get paid out at the next check. I had one department that had an employee that got a $14,000 check. We're really gonna have to watch their cash balance. I don't know that we have enough, and we might have to encumber more of their payroll so that they don't end in the red. Anytime somebody leaves, that department needs to be sitting at your very next meeting saying, hey, it cost us
Yes.
this. If you guys say, well, let's let it ride for 3 months and see where we're at, do you have somewhere else? But 14,000, I had a 14,000, I had a 6,000 and something, and a 7,200. That we ended up having to move stuff around to pay for those buyouts. So that's one of the things to put on the radar for this year that hasn't been there. But it's up to the departments. They know what went out. They knew what the funds were and where they were at. So we just need them to be more on top of their budgets and their line items. And no, I did not like spending my Sunday here to go through them, but I'm glad I did, because we literally are down to like 3 departments for transfers, and everybody will be out of the red. We got, most of the funds are out of the red. If you notice, when you had an updated one of these, all of your tax settlement money is in there. We only have a couple of line items or funds that are in the red. Come a long way. So just in doing transfers and stuff yesterday was a lot of get budgets or to make sure these funds were out of the red.
Is that mainly comp time that we were paying out?
No, vacation, personal comp. There was a little bit overtime depending on the rates and where they were earned. I know everybody keeps saying that there's a lot of comp time on the books. It's more vacation time on the books than it is comp time. The departments have started really watching that, but Jack's a primary, not picking on you, Jack, you know, the vacation and personal time because he can't get out, and those are the things that are building up. And so whether try to do something to get it down to the bare minimums, encourage all the departments, start using it, get them out of here as much as possible.
Is there a policy on use or lose?
No.
See, and that's why we're at where we are.
So back to the 1782. I just,
We got off that.
you know, I'm just gonna make a motion that we still allow the president and vice president, the auditor, the discretion to finalize everything like we already agreed to. However, we give preference to cutting out the advertised amounts in all of those budgets, except leave $100,000 in the line item for the council and the general fund for an emergency case, because that has been helpful in the past. But all other extra that we had advertised for, I would take out of all those budgets.
Motion's been made by Anton. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any questions on that?
Did Joe second?
Yes.
And again, we're not losing anything, and we're not cutting any operational commitments. It's the budget's the budget. It's funded. There's no cuts to that. It's the amount we added to advertise. That's the amount we're rolling back.
She got a question?
So we already have money available to, like I was cut $76,375 off of my budget. We already have money somewhere to,
That will help. Yes, we did put extra in yours, so yes, that would help the bottom line and shrink that gap, 100%. Yeah. Not the gap 100%, but you're correct that, yes, that's,
we don't have an option but to have an option.
yes.
So,
Plus, your cash balance wound up being better than where we anticipated it being at this point when we guessed in June. That also is to your advantage. So there's some pros in there that I feel pretty confident about on the election part. And if it's not, then we'll address it. But I think, you know, it is what it is, so.
so I have another question. On additional appropriations, they don't have to be advertised next year?
Starting January 1st, additional appropriations do not have to be advertised, so we don't have to meet that paper deadline and all of that. We still have to go through the process. They're presented here, you guys vote on it, and I still have to enter them in the state system, but we
So as
just
far
know.
as newspaper advertisement, they're still online
You're still
for
online.
Gateway.
Would it still be like, I mean, the timeline like it is now? I mean, we would still come back and do a public hearing? You don't have to do that now? Huh.
On that night, when it's decided, it's done. You don't have to go 3 months or 4 months out.
No, that's
waiting.
good.
But
Okay.
how do we, I mean, what if we vote on it and then the DLGF doesn't approve it?
Then it's not approved. That's the option you always have. Every time I, just like what you approved tonight, I'll enter first thing in the morning
Yeah.
and they can say yay or nay on it. That's always their option.
So it just shortens that timeline. It's not kind of,
Yes.
That's helpful.
yeah,
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
yeah, I know. We're still discussing it. Does anybody have any other questions on the motion? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, motion carried.
I found my note on the current balances. There'll be $146,127.96 to roll over from the current lit match fund into, encumber it into, to go along with the 2026 amount. So that's $147,000 more.
Well, and generally, you look at this fund report after settlement, I mean, these are some of the highest numbers I've ever seen in years. And that's because of our good diligence. I mean, we hit the 4 million mark on correctional facility, which is a little bit ahead of target based on our financial planning there. Our lit Economic Development Fund is almost 3 million. So there's flexibility, there are opportunities for, emergency funds where we need them. It doesn't mean spend this stuff like crazy. I mean, we have to, like Sheila was alluding to, we have to be very careful because with the new tax environment that's being implemented over the next couple of years, there is still some uncertainty as to whether we're going to be still good or not with revenue changing. So there's already talk about delaying the income tax restructure another year, and we're kind of wanting, that's part of our jail project,
Right.
for example.
So get a hold of your legislators.
Yes, so stay engaged. Jeff knows all this stuff, what's going on at the state level. So, we need to be very conservative, even though the numbers look okay at the moment. Just err on the side of caution, I guess, so.
Okay. On to our public hearing for additional appropriation requests. I hereby open the public hearing.
Probation has pulled their $9,000 request. She doesn't need it. She had originally thought they would, but she is, so you don't have to approve that one. That leaves the $9,000 for the document fees for Fund 4902, $10,000 for 1170 for vehicle repair, $10,000 for county general for copiers and the line items. Then you have Chris's $50,000, which is $25,000 divided in two different ones.
So we're striking probation and adding EMS.
Yes,
Was EMS advertised?
yes.
Okay.
What was the figure on EMS?
50,000.
All right. Someone want to make that a motion?
Was there any public
Oh, yes. Is there any public comment? All right. No public comment? Anyone want to make a motion
I'll make a motion.
motion made to accept the additional appropriation? Is there a second? Second by Daniel. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. I hereby close the public hearing. All right, Jeff.
Hello all, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Polly wanted me to touch on a couple things. One being the use of a building corporation, the other being the timeline. And then, don't let me forget, I do want to touch on what Anton said about legislation and possible changes in timing. And if I could address some of what Sam talked about with road projects, I might have an idea for you.
Great.
First part on the building corporation. As we talked about, and I know some of this is stretched across multiple years, but when a county or any other civil unit of government undertakes a project that has to be bonded, you have a test at the beginning, which is, can it be general obligation bonds? If it can be a general obligation bond, it doesn't matter whether it's repaid with income tax or property tax. But the aggregate amount of all of those outstanding bonds cannot exceed 1/3 of 2% of your net assessed value. So in this test with the jail project, the cost of the jail project exceeds 1/3 of 2% of your net assessed value. So it's just binary. Cannot issue general obligation bonds to fund that project. Therefore, the legislature knows this is an issue for lots of units of government. Almost every school and lots of civil units of government have this same scenario. You have greater infrastructure needs than 1/3 of 2% of your AV. So the legislative fix for that is you have to issue not general obligation bonds, but lease rental bonds. And their statutory workaround for that is, at the county, you can issue those general obligation bonds. What happens with the lease rental is you establish a building corporation, which is who will lease you the jail. That building corporation is actually the issuer of the bonds, not the county anymore. The county and the building corporation enter into an agreement where the county is the lessee, the building corporation is the lessor. You as the lessee agree that you're going to make these lease payments across time, which correspond to the building corporation repaying those bonds that are outstanding. So every 6 months, they will pay principal and interest to recoup all those bonds across this next 20-year period. You at the county level, you have allocated income taxes that you are planning to use to make those incremental lease payments over the next 20 years. The building corporation's sole function is to fund capital projects that you as a group assign it as the debt financer of those. The only one you have right now before you is the jail. But, you know, if 10 years down the road you say, hey, you know, we need to lease finance a new highway garage, or we want to renovate this building and it's going to be multiple millions of dollars, you can then set up a second lease rental set of bonds and again let that building corporation undertake that project. And again, it doesn't count against your bond cap of that 1/3 of 2%. So there's some strategic advantages to it. Yours at this point is just a necessity. You cannot do your project without having a building corp. And again, its sole purpose is just to be this financial conduit. I think we never get involved in the legal part of it, but I think it's 3 people. And that's all they do is sign off on that and approve it. And it stays in place until we get to the end. And then there's like a final accounting of what is there to make sure that whatever funds they have go toward the final debt service payment. Then it becomes pretty much defunct. Any questions on building corp and the lease rental part?
Complicated.
It is. And it sounds like a shell game. But you're right.
Still do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the legislature's fix for that constitutional thing that says you can't incur more than 1/3 of 2% of your assessed value.
Jeff, the bottom line is, has anybody ever went bankrupt on that?
Not in Indiana to my recollection.
Can it fall back on property tax?
It can. The structure that we've put in place is you are going to utilize your income taxes to make those payments. We have looked at that revenue stream of your income taxes compared to what we believe debt service is and discussed that with the bond lawyers. And they agree that you today, based on the way the laws are written, have a reasonable expectation that you have enough income tax coming in currently and under the new law, that you will be able to sustain your operations and repay the debt service without it hitting property taxes. Therefore, you, that's the plan of finance. But to get the best bond rating, and because what the legislature did with income taxes in the new law says it has to be reestablished every year, the bond market won't accept that as a continuing repayment stream for the debt service. So what you will be doing is your backup will be the property tax base. But that is only if you somehow fail to be able to collect sufficient income tax. And if you did, it would only be the amount that you're insufficient would go on the property tax rolls. So this will give you the best bond rating, the lowest interest rate cost. And again, as we've looked at everything today, and nobody has a crystal ball, but there's perfectly reasonable expectation that it gets paid from your income tax and never hits property tax. But 20 years is a long time.
Is there, with the changing of the state law regulations, can income tax go up each year?
Well, there's a cap under the new legislation.
There is a cap.
There is a cap. The cap is on rate. So if you have more and more people living in Owen County or making more money, that rate against a larger base would produce a larger distribution.
Okay, is that saying that somebody, okay, can their income tax, they make 36,000 this year, they make the same next year, something changes, are they going to be capped for more taxes?
No, I'm assuming when you establish your rate that you will hold it at that rate. Now, there may be options that you would be able to go above and beyond that. And when we talked about and did the analysis, we looked at your current tax rate today, because the will of the fiscal body, I believe, was to stay within that tax rate in total that you have today and just allocate more of it to the county for this jail project. So I think potentially you would have the ability to make them pay more, but under the scenarios we've looked at, I don't think they would.
But we don't know.
And again, you don't know. And the other thing we haven't projected or even talked about, it's been a long time since we've had a recession. And, the next recession, it will come, but how severe will it be? How long will it last? Those will be big pressers on income tax. But again, can't answer that question.
So we have a
without
down
crystal
deal, it could affect income tax.
It could, and it will.
It will affect income tax.
Yes, but if it's 5 years from now and your income tax base has grown from here to here, and then it only dips to here, well, we're still ahead of where we started.
So you're saying
Don't know.
property tax would only be used for the difference if it's not covered under income tax? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. If you could not make your payment under income tax, you have the ability to let it fall to property tax, but only the amount that you're short.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. So, calendar-wise, did everybody get to look through the Frost, Brown, Todd, bond councils?
It should have been emailed to everyone,
Was it in an email?
but, in the past.
They,
I was going to print it out on my own.
originally, it was marked confidential from
Okay,
the attorney.
yeah, it still says it's confidential, but,
So I haven't, it went to the committee and then, but I don't,
okay.
Did you?
I do believe there are edits to be made to it based on phone conversation that was had last week. But the task that we gave bond counsel was, okay, let's look at when do we need the money potentially and work backward so that we can go through all of these steps in order to have money. And the target we're looking at is end of February, beginning of March. Maybe we can get money a little bit later than that and be on schedule, but the thought was, based on the conversations we had before, is that the engineering would be done sufficiently to the point that if you do it under a BOT, which I believe you are, a build, operate, transfer agreement, you'll have a guaranteed maximum price by the end of January. And that was where we were looking at. Because, and we'll walk through some of these steps, but we're going to be doing these concurrently, the financing part, the engineering, and the estimation part. So based on the numbers that we talked about a couple months ago, those have been given to bond counsel, and that's where we're starting, kind of like the budget process. You know, this is as high as we can go, and we're going to refine that. So the engineers are going to be going through that estimation process, and they should give us a GMP at the end of January. What we will then do at that point in time, we should be through, between the council and the commissioners, all of our other responsibilities for the financing, so that when they give us that GMP, we will now reduce our budget down, just like you said today, from 5 million to 4 million. We're going to refine that number so that you only borrow exactly what you need to meet that obligation. So if they give us that number at the end of January, we'll revise all of our documentation, which takes about a week. We send that out, publish it to the world for everybody to bid on bonds, which takes another week to market. And then we sell them. Then it takes bond counsel 2 weeks to get those closed. So from the time I get the GMP to the time you get cash available to access for your project is a month. So that's what we're trying to accomplish in February. Now, it could be that timing-wise, they don't start the project and you don't really see any invoices for construction until April. If that's so, then, you know, we actually have another month in there. But, you know, Dan Zerner and them had talked about the bidding of the project, and your best point in time to do that is as early in the year as possible. So I think that's kind of what you're trying to hit.
Jeff, if we go with this lease, have you any idea what the interest rate might be?
Yeah, I think the one I put in your estimate was 4.6, something like that. We've had a rate cut since then.
Is it the same?
Yeah.
You have this in your packets?
Yeah, it was 4.6 in the top part of that example. Thank you. We've had one rate cut since that point in time that hasn't, it's brought down the back end of the yield curve a little bit, but not really the front end. So it's helped out, but only marginally. I think we potentially have other rate cuts that will come prior to us selling in the beginning of February, which hopefully will bring that down.
If you was estimating, what would you estimate?
Today, I would stay at 4.5 to 4.6. I would hope that by the time we get to sale, it'll be, you know, another 10 or 20 basis points lower, maybe 4.4.
Had we talked about, I thought we was looking at a little less interest that we talked about a year ago.
I don't know about a year ago. Now, when we had these conversations 4 or 5 years ago, the interest rate was a whole lot lower. A lot different.
Yeah.
But, you know, we did test, we talked to the people at the Indiana Bond Bank. What you're doing doesn't fit any of their programs and what they want to do. We talked to rural development. They were willing to finance it for a longer period of time, but the interest rates were not as good as what we'd be able to get on the open market. So we believe with the property tax backup, a Standard & Poor's bond rating, we've also built into the budget the ability to insure the bonds. And by insuring the bonds, we actually get the bond rating up to a AA, which is where we think we can get these rates at. And
Okay,
it
you
should
say-
give you the least expensive financing for the project.
And what's the cost on the insurance?
The insurance is worked in there, I had an estimate of it. But it is, again, we test the insurance cost versus what we believe your bond rating might be, which we'll actually know what the underlying bond rating is when we get to the end of January. And the final tests, as we mark down these bonds, we also look at, do we buy insurance? Get the rating up to a AA. What interest rate or what interest savings do we have by doing that versus sending it to the market with whatever natural bond rating you get? So we do test that right before we cut the
Tell me,
The principal amount.
what's the purpose of the insurance? Just to get a better rating?
yes, better rating, lesser interest cost.
So you're thinking that by getting a better rating, the cost of the insurance
Would more than cover the interest savings that you will get. And that is a test we do at that point in time before we buy it.
what's the extent of the insurance? I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean,
The
is
extent,
it?
and yeah, you won't like this. The extent of the insurance isn't real good. They are guaranteeing that if something happens that you would not make the payment,
Yeah.
they will step in and make the payment to bondholders. Then they're coming back to you and you're going to pay them back plus their interest, plus any other expenses they have. But again, as we plan it out and we hit all these, it is a very rare occurrence in, my 30-plus years of practice. I've never had anybody miss a bond payment, period. I've never seen the insurance used. But it's there for, because, again, we're selling these to anybody in the world. That's how you get your best interest rates, is because you sell, $5,000 to Mary Jones in England that pays X percent in June of 2037 because she wants that piece and everybody else wants this piece. And it's really an efficient way to do it. Everybody pays their best bid for the pieces that they want. And that's the problem when you go to a bank. Bank wants everything on the short end. They don't want anything on the long end. So if you make them buy everything on the long end, then you pay.
Jeff, if you were sitting in my seat, would you like what I'm hearing?
I didn't say you'd like it, but you're charged with financing a jail
Yes.
that, you're really obligated to do. So I'm giving you the best scenario of how we can do it, preserve you lots of options, give you the best interest rates.
I appreciate what you're doing. I didn't mean to put you in a
Oh,
trick
no,
bag, but.
not at all.
But I really, these are tough decisions because it's more than just committing 7 people's pay. We're committing the whole county to an obligation for a number of years that something could go awry. And what we might have told them that we was going to accomplish might change.
Yes, and that's a great segue to go into what Anton said about this legislation. I'm assuming, I know this is a short legislative session, but I have heard that rumor about a delay. If they delay it in 26, get it to the governor's desk and it gets signed, then I think we have some reanalysis that we may have to do in short order if it's prior to us selling the bonds. Once we sell the bonds and they're outstanding, they're good. They don't change. You've put in place what you believe to be true and your backups into the property tax side. Now, if there is a delay, you may want to have that conversation as a fiscal body. Okay, how do we preserve enough cash to make because we were going to have new taxes in 28. How do we make the payment in 28 until we get new taxes in 29? That might be a discussion. But if some of that stuff is done, signed by the governor and in law prior to us issuing the bonds, then we may have to scramble, do some other things to make sure that everything that we have put in place for both local legal counsel, bond counsel, is meshing up with what those bond documents are and how they're gonna be issued.
So the state could throw a wrench in it. That could make it worse or better.
After what they did last time, I would speculate that it would only be worse. But, that being said, what they did actually gave you an avenue to get where you are today that we didn't have before.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. So, do you want to walk through some of the other parts of the calendar?
That sounds good.
Okay. So, on the calendar that we have before us, and so nobody has that actual email, right?
And since it's, when it's
You're mentioning
updated,
it tonight,
Yeah.
then it gives me permission to release it to them. I can
Okay.
get copies first thing in the morning.
Okay, so again, like I say, we're running parallel tracks, engineering and design to cost estimation, financing. And on the financing, what we have to do is, we have provided to the bond council all the parameters based on the numbers that we had shared and what we believe is a fundable formula. So from there, they will, and they being bond council, will work with the commissioners to begin with to have a notice published for a public hearing on the lease. And again, that we talked about the lease between the county and the building corporation. And on a public hearing of what is called a preliminary determination to issue the bonds. So we're going to have 2 public hearings for the commissioners to approve the lease or the structure of the lease and the bonds. And in part of that also, they will name the building corporation participants. I'm not sure if they're called commissioners or not, but the 3 people that sit on the building corporation, they will name those as well. Also, we had talked about when you do a big building project like this, and you do it through a lease, you at the county are not allowed to make principal payments against that debt until you can occupy or use the building, unless you provide a replacement asset. So we had talked about this place will be pledged as a replacement asset during the construction period, so that you don't have to borrow money up front to pay bondholders during the construction period. Instead, you'll make principal and interest payments, and the value of this building is assumed to be more than what those lease payments will be in that construction period of a couple of years. So, as well as naming the people to the building commission or the building corporation.
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there a per diem paid for those people?
No,
I don't believe so.
no, the bond, I'm on the building corporation with the school corporation, and there's normally 5, is what they would really like. instead of
Okay.
3, but that's okay. Well, 3 for you guys, I mean, if you could, I would suggest 5 if that's possible. When we did that, we only have 2 meetings a year, and it's just to sign paperwork so that the money can be transferred, and then we read the minutes from the previous meeting and boom, that's we're done. Don't be afraid of the bond issue.
The rental, the lease rental?
Yeah, don't be afraid of that at all. I've done one for $7 million and $4 million with the school corporation, never had a glitch.
Thank you. So for the substitute asset of this building for the lease payments during construction, the property will be transferred to the building corporation. This will be part of that lease and part of the trust indenture that works around that. I assume also that there will be, the new property that you acquire for the new jail will also be, as part of that lease agreement, being transferred to the building corporation. And the commissioners will do both of those as well. They will also approve the bond ordinance, the actual issue of the bonds, again, after they hold this public hearing.
So you're saying, Jeff, we're gonna tie this up for a short period of time?
This building, yes, or whatever the construction period is. I'm assuming it's gonna be a couple of years.
Okay. So there will not be any payments made in that 2 year, until the project's done? Is that what you're saying?
No, they will be made. Alternatively, you have to borrow the money and only pay bondholders interest in that 2-year period. Where if you use this as the substitute asset, you get to make both principal and interest payments out of your income tax funds during that time
During that period of time?
Yeah, just like you're making normal debt service payments. So that way you don't have to borrow interest money and then pay interest on the interest. So again, this is trying to get it as small as we possibly can. So after the commissioners make their approvals, there will be notices of their approvals in the execution of the lease. Those will be published. There will be publication for a public hearing on additional appropriation for you as the fiscal body. And you will also have an ordinance for issuing the bonds that you will have to approve. So at a public meeting and one published with the additional appropriation language, you will, one, approve that you are going to issue the bonds and borrow the money, and two, you are going to authorize the expenditure of this money for the project.
And that's the part that the council plays.
Yes, you have two functions. One, you have to approve the bond issue itself, as do the commissioners. And two, your singular responsibility, as always, is to appropriate money. So, and again, we do this at the same meeting so that, you know, we never want to borrow money that we have not appropriated. And we don't want that to be a hang up. Don't borrow the money unless you're gonna spend it. So let's do it all at once. Approve the borrowing, approve the spending, and that will be the top end amount of what can be spent toward that project. Additional issuance of the bond. Okay, during that same time period, we'll be putting together background documents for the bond sale. And it's just, an accumulation of, how many people live in the county, what's your median income, what are your education levels, how many schools do you have, what's your assessed value. Anything that someone in the outside world to invest in your community would want to know. So we roll all that stuff in, and it's called a preliminary official statement, or POS. We circulate that within our working group, so it'll be local legal counsel, probably the auditor. You guys may want to see it, although you don't have to. Us, bond counsel, and underwriters. I haven't talked too much about underwriters. The underwriter for your bond issue is going to be Stifel. It's STIFEL. You would think it would be stifled, but it is not. They do, I would say, a great proportion of all the tax exempt municipal financings in the state. And they're a global company. But they will be the ones that actually get this out to that vast group of people to buy the bonds. The other thing they do, and what we work with them on is, okay, what are we gonna price these at? For all these different maturities, what do we want to offer up as coupon payments versus how much is it going to yield? How much are those people actually gonna recognize off of all of the investments? And we work with them to scale all that. It goes out to market, they sell what they can during the sale, and what happens at the end is whatever's left over, they will then step in and say, we'll buy that, and then they'll sell it to their clientele via retail. So that way, on one day, everything gets sold for your bond issue so that you have the money in place 2 weeks later to start making payments as you need. So we would run through that preliminary official statement. That's what goes out. That's what creates the underlying documents for the sale. Then in that 2-week period, we finalize that. So it goes from a preliminary official statement to a final official statement. And that is issued, posted to the world at closing. And again, like I say, we're really looking at potentially a month from guaranteed maximum price to cash in hand. I assume when Frost Brown Todd revises this, it'll still be close to these dates. But is there any update as to timing, as to the having that guaranteed maximum price, the engineers deriving that final number that is needed?
Hopefully by the first of the year.
Okay, so you may even be ahead of schedule.
We hope to be. That was kind of their plan. We're still on schedule so far, but you know how things change, yeah.
Yes, sir. So again, I think, and again, I'm speaking out of hat here, or Dan Zerner had talked about the timing period for when you guys want to bid. I think you want to do that as early in the year as you can. But again, this timeline is more of trying to meet those obligations. A lot of times, the bids and so forth, or the guaranteed maximum price is, subject to financing. So we're gonna finance that after that. But we don't want people building in hedges and contingencies into their pricing because they're worried about how long it's gonna take us to acquire funds. So I think we wanna try and diligently work through that pretty much as fast as we can. One other part that I didn't talk about in there is, because it is a lease rental, there is a petition required from 50 or more taxpayers to the building corporation to kick this lease rental off. Normally, local legal counsel spearheads that. I don't know what interaction local counsel that you've had regarding that with bond counsel,
He sent the petition.
Okay.
I think it's pending. There was a couple other things that they decided has to be done before we can actually get the petition out to.
Okay. So, sounds like having legal counsel and bond counsel at the same firm, all that's gonna tie up nicely and dovetail together. Any other questions on that? And then I just have one quick thing for you and I'll escape.
This is the only avenue we have to pursue.
This is the only option you have to fund that project.
Okay.
Yes, because, and you can bring up a whole slew of different scenarios, but in all practicality, excuse me, your only good security to pledge is property tax today. So we get into, again, that binary test of, we can't do general obligation bonds. Therefore, we have to do lease rental bonds, which means we have to have a building corporation. You don't want to put it on the property tax rolls, therefore you've gone through the analysis of paying it with income tax, or at least having the reasonable expectation that you'll pay it with income tax. So, when I run all those through my mind, yes, this is the only avenue you have to fund that project.
You've looked at our revenues.
Yes, we ran through all the income tax.
Are you comfortable with it?
I am, except the way the law is written today. I don't know what it's gonna look like when we get to the middle of '27. But based on what the legislature gave you, everything that's there today, yeah, I'm comfortable that this is the fundable model that gets you there. I just can't tell the future and what someone might do to you along the way. Or a recession, how long, how deep. But outside of those two alternatives, this is a fundable model that, you know, not only this bond council, but previous bond council looked at, accepted, because, you know, they're the ones that have to look at what we presented and what we talked about with you, and them to say, yes, that is a reasonable expectation that you're not going to levy property taxes. Because otherwise, we'd be talking about a whole different set of procedures that you would have to go through to issue property tax bonds.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. The other real brief thing, and I'll just say, you might want to write this down. Indiana Code, I believe it's 36-9-41, public works loans. A county does not have the ability to issue property tax debt to build roads, etc., except for this one statute. And the project can't be more than $2 million. It can't be put on the tax rolls for more than 10 years. However, if you're losing community crossing grant money, and you can meet that definition in that statute of what a public works project is, I think you can serially take up to a $2 million project for motor vehicle highway, do it, borrow the money to do that, put it on the tax rolls, and pay it off sometime within the next 10 years. You could decide to do $2 million, pay it off all the next year, which would be a big spike on your tax rate, or do it over 5 years, or do it over 10 years. You have, because this debt for your jail is going to be lease rental in the building corporation, you as the county still have a very large general obligation bond cap, which is that 1/3 of 2%. So you could serially do these to undertake your road projects. The bad part is it drives up your property tax rate. But if you have to, again, provide for that infrastructure, this may be an avenue that you would want to do that. Second part to that is the legislation that was passed in the last year is only half of what was intended to be done. The other half is the legislature wants a fixed rate model for everybody going forward. They didn't have the votes to get it done in this last session. They think they have the votes to get it done, but probably not till '27. And that fixed rate proposal is for a taxing district, which is all the units of government, school, township, library, county, etc. The total of the taxing district will never be more than $3 unless someone approved a referenda. But it's going to be, what they've done so far, and they did get through the legislation this time, was if you're a fire territory, it can't be more than 40 cents. And that includes their equivalent of your CCD fund and all their debt funds. So far, that amount's not going to be more than 40. They haven't set the rate for what is it going to be for school, what's it going to be for library, what's it going to be for county, what's it going to be for city. Because if all of those have to share that $3 pie, the one thing it does is it gets rid of all the circuit breaker losses. Because if 1% property, which only pays 1/3 of its value based on the new formula, if they pay 1%, 2% property pays 2 and business pays 3, then in that $3 tax rate, all the circuit breaker losses go away. But it's gonna be, I think, a bloodbath between when the school says, hey, I'm gonna have to have X, and the city says, well, I'm gonna have to have Y, and X plus Y and everybody else equals more than $3. That is my cautionary tale for you if you consider doing road projects and putting them on the property tax rolls. We're not gonna know what those amounts are until probably '27. So, you know, if you were to put several of those on there and get to a 50-cent county tax rate, and the legislature comes back and says, counties, you get 40 cents, period. Use it how you wish. That could be a problem. But again, if you have to get from here to there and you need to do a road project, you might read that statute, see if it fits your criteria. And it's an option not often used by counties, but available to you.
And that puts road projects pulling off of property tax.
Yes, which you're otherwise not allowed to do.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, thank you all.
Okay, on to new business, recorder perpetuation fund. Read it.
So really, I just need your signatures on the ordinance that goes with my sworn statement so I can pay my part-time employee's salary next year.
Do we need?
Yeah, this is pretty standard because we're utilizing the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund, and the dollar amount matches our budget estimate, and we appreciate the partnership and working with us and letting us do that. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept the resolution as prepared. I think it's ordinance 2025007 from the Recorder.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
Well said, Joe.
Second by Daniel. All those in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this for the minutes?
Yeah, that's for the minutes. Okay, that's for perpetuation. Okay. All right, on to EMA siren invoice.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Joe.
If you all recall, the last two tornado sirens we put in was under a federal mitigation grant that we received from the McCormick's Creek tornado disaster. And it's a 75%, 25% reimbursement type grant, and they do mean reimbursement. They want us to pay the full Monty up front and then cut us, and it's 78,000, my phone just moved, 78,610, but we're allowed to use a few things to help on our part of the 25% match. Not as many things as IDHS told me when they first rolled into town.
Shocker.
Yep, yep. I don't know how many rugs they got pulled out from under you, but they've got a few. I think they got a few more surprises for us too, but all of the siren committee's work, and Anton knows how much we met. We met quite a bit. There was 4 or 5 of us there usually. All of those hours are supposed to go towards our 25% match. And when we're paying the bill up front, and they already told us what they're gonna pay us, those hours can't be reimbursed. You can't turn that into cash. You just can't do it. We paid the invoice up front. Federal government already knows they're gonna send us a $59,000 and change check. There's no room for those hours to be turned into cash. It's just not gonna happen. Luckily, the public stepped up and a lot of the organizations around town and donated money to the siren project. About 19,000, Sheila, am I right on that?
19,187.
And our, that's just about what our match is. And then the fantastic folks at REMC in Martinsville and in Bloomfield both donated the pole, setting of the pole. They had a crew out there at each siren all day long. That's kind of expensive. So their contribution will count too. So although I don't have an updated invoice with the price of the poles deducted, it's pretty easy math. I think it'll be $73,610 is what we're going to owe Mike Dyer. And then the federal government, when they get good and ready, will send us a $59,000 check.
So Jack, you would like us to appropriate the amount to cover the 73,000 figure, is that correct? Or do we need to be careful with that and go up to 78 just in case, or how do you think we should do that?
I want to use that money that was donated for that project.
Uh-huh.
So it's gone. That's me. I don't know how you guys do that, but I want to be able to show FEMA that that money was in and out.
Okay.
I think that's important.
So definitely on the 19 or whatever, the balance, do we want to do it up to whatever's left, up to the 78 figure or up to the 73 figure?
I think up to the 73 figure. Anything
Up to
above
the
73,610
That's on.
is out of bounds.
Okay, perfect. And we're okay liquidating the entire balance of the siren fund, 19,178.
Or 187, I don't know.
So, so I'm gonna make a motion that we appropriate $19,187 out of Fund 4917. And then appropriate $24,423, or use the council's line item. Is that what you were suggesting? Payable from the council.
61,30100.
There you go. What Sheila said.
Thank you.
Keep it simple, right?
I'll second that, Anton.
Motion made by.
Hang on, did we get there? Did we get to,
You-
I don't
you've
understand where
got-
this money's
yeah,
coming from.
You've got 19,178 and then the 24,000. What about the?
I know you're tightwad, Anton, but come on, we got to pay this bill.
Yeah, one moment, let me refigure that. $54,423. There you go.
There we go.
Good catch. Thank you. I tried. No,
You almost got it done.
it's good.
Nick was going to help you.
Okay.
Where do you take the money from?
So I'm going to restate that. The motion is to use $19,187 out of Fund 4917.
Now, is that the match, or that's the donation, is that the? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's just cash out of there, which is for that purpose.
Okay,
And then the balance was $54,423, and we would use our council line item
okay.
for other services. That's not actually an appropriation, but it's used in an existing
Right.
line item there.
Right.
And then that'll cover the complete amount, and then when we get the reimbursement, it'll go back into probably the general fund or
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll think about that. We'll think about giving that back to you.
We'll negotiate.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Anton, seconded by Nick. Any other questions on that?
I have one question. Where does the money go from the 5,000 that we deducted, or the 6,000 that we deducted? I'm sorry, 5,000 for the polls. Is
Yeah,
there a
so,
difference there?
yes.
From what's being reimbursed, what we're
Technically,
appropriating?
ECS is not the one that did that, so that's being taken off their bill.
Yeah, that donation.
RMC did it.
That donation has already been given from the RMCs to Owen County. It was just that the ECS bill did not reflect that.
Right.
He's going ahead and charging us for those poles.
So where does that 5,000 go when it comes back?
It doesn't come back. I'll get a new
It's not.
invoice, and we'll never pay that 5,000. So it won't have to come back.
That's where the 73,000 comes
Yeah, I
from.
use 73 instead of 78,
Yeah.
because that's gonna be written
Yeah.
off there, yeah.
Yeah, we immediately took that 5,000 off before
Good
Anton started figuring over there, so it's already gone.
Okay, are we ready for a vote? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Okay, now, moving forward, do we have to, what's the claim process look like now? Any different than, do I just come see you tomorrow, or is it gotta go before the commissioners, or?
No.
Okay, all right,
Thank you so much, Jack.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
thank you, guys.
Okay, on to council resolution 2026 meeting dates and the 2026 salary
Can
ordinance.
we add the health department?
Oh,
before we
yes,
get to
yeah,
this?
that would be fine. Yeah, that's not on there, is it?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, in your packet, you should have got what, my proposal is, I'm basically wanting to flip-flop two positions. I want to take the administrative assistant and make it a part-time position, and take the CCMA positions that we made part-time back to full-time, just one position though. So basically, just flip-flop those two positions. We've learned that the medical side of it, the staffing's needed there more than on the administrative side. Having that lack of medical, I have to do the fill-in, and then I can't get anything else done. So, we have to do something. It's just not, we are not serving our community to the best we could, so.
So is that like a net zero?
It's actually, you're gonna be gaining about $10,000, so it's $10,000 less.
Great.
And I'm doing the math now. So the administrative assistant position would go down from 35 hours a week
To 21.
21, okay.
Which should make it,
1,092 there, okay. And then the position, the certified medical assistant position that we kind of projected would be, we kind of came up with 728 hours.
right,
You'd still keep the second one?
no,
No.
we'll
so-
eliminate it.
Okay, so you had about 1,400 hours there. We're gonna up that to 1,820.
Okay.
So,
Does it change anybody's benefits?
The only thing, that the administrative assistant takes is the life insurance. She doesn't take. So no, not
So
really.
that's the only
She
thing
will
that you-
lose like her vacation time. She won't accrue vacation, so.
Which if there's a $10,000 savings, no doubt, we're gaining, even with paying out the,
Well, he's going off 35. I only went off 30. I was even going less than 35,
that
so.
could be even more advantage there.
Yeah, because when Sheila and I talked, we still have a resolution that you can be full-time at 30 hours.
and that's what you're shooting for.
That's what I'm shooting for, yes.
Yeah, so before, when we took the 2 part-times and the full-time administrative assistant, in wages, it was $72,225.46. If we take away the 1 part-time and make the other full, and then we take the administrative assistant down to part-time, then it's $65,198. If you figure in the difference in perf and FICA, then you're coming up to that figure. You're pretty close to what you're saying.
Right.
It is a net savings
Yes, it is a
by
savings.
doing it, no doubt. And the benefits are the same. That's a wash.
Yeah,
The only thing is just the technical nature of which funds, you know, things are being paid out and how we want to adjust that, but that can probably be done later.
right. I kind of did that already, so like,
okay.
you know how the one is split?
Percentage, yes.
I don't think we would have to split that anymore. I think we could just pay
Okay.
it from, if my figures are correct. You'll need to double check those.
Yeah,
but-
let's work on that part,
Yeah.
but we know that we're gonna be money
Ahead,
good
yeah.
there. And it impacts funds 1159 and 1161, essentially.
Which are my 2 health funds, yeah.
So,
Do we need board action then, Anton?
oh, yeah.
You gonna make a motion?
Yeah, I can make a motion. So I'm gonna make a motion that we take the administrative assistant position for the health department down to $1,092 hours and make that a part-time position. And then we're gonna take, of the 2 health part-time clinical certified assistant positions, we're gonna eliminate one of them, and then we're gonna change the other one to 1,820 hours full-time.
Which is 30 hours a week?
That's 35.
30, is that what you wanted?
No, I based it on 30. He based it on 35. So,
You're still saving 8,000 and you're getting 35
Okay.
instead of 30.
okay. Okay.
I mean, it works,
Yeah,
so. And then we'll authorize Sheila and we'll work on the fund adjustments accordingly for the budget. But,
So is that your motion, Anton?
yep.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Anton, seconded by Nick. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, anytime you save us money.
And then, before you go, so on 1161, we're clear now on that. We're gonna have some unspent money in cash that will help us cover the cost of the budget for 2026. But that may or may not be there at the end of 26.
That's right.
And that's understood, I hope. So we're good on the budget for now, maybe a little better, little bit of extra here with this. But we do want to be very careful with
Yeah,
that cash balance, so.
yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now on to Council Resolution 2026 meeting dates. And then our 2026 salary ordinance.
Do you want those as separate motions?
Yeah, the
Yes.
salary ordinance will have to be after the confirmation
Yes.
summaries anyway, so.
I'll make a motion on our resolution number 2025 for the dates. Is that what we're looking at?
2026.
2026, well, okay. We got 2025, but I'll put 20.
Well, you're making it in 2025. so
Yeah,
this
it's
is your
a resolution,
for next year.
but it's for next year.
I could wait till
Yeah.
January
I changed
1st.
it too, and it's like, no, it's.
Okay.
So did you make that a motion, Nick?
I'm sorry.
Did you make that a motion?
Yes, yes.
Is there a second? Second by Daniel. All right, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay. All right, on
This
to
is
the.
in your,
Now,
here on the desk.
Sheila, does everybody get a copy of this?
Yes.
Okay, because it says down here, late dates to receive agenda request. Are they respecting that?
We'll reiterate that.
I try to chat with everybody, and it's hard, and again, there's different things that go on, just like this, I didn't get them out, or if they turn everything in on Wednesday, it's usually Thursday before I can get it out to you guys, so as long as they're within it or like this, you can add to it if you need to.
Okay,
And there
thank
are
you.
changes, just like you're getting ready to do your salary confirmations, there were some adjustments there, so you need to do those before you can actually do your salary
Do those.
ordinance.
So, yeah, so on those compensation summaries, they are pretty standard. Again, they're catching employee changes that occurred since the last meeting. There's one that we caught that involved one of the deputies that should have been done several months back, but for whatever reason, it didn't get on a report. That's in there as well to kind of get that corrected. We also had one employee that had a shift change for a brief period, so it's weird that there's two, and the end result didn't change anything, but we got to document that. So there's two for that individual. Everything else is pretty straightforward. The maintenance superintendent, that is one that we're going to need special action on. So when we approved the budget for 2026 that included the position of maintenance superintendent, we had a certain target low point rate for that position. And that's already baked into the budget, and we've already approved all that. But the commissioners, based on the hiring decision and their management choice, they would like to, at least temporarily, reduce that to $21 an hour. And then at some point, I would imagine in 2026, when that individual has more experience or however that works out, they would then want to return to the normal configuration that we had anticipated. So it's saving us some money, and it's, lowering the cost. But we do need action for that based on the printout you have, because it's lowering the hours to 35 hours a week instead of 40. And it's setting a total base COLA rate of $21 even for both this year and next year.
Well, what is the rate now?
I think it's 24.
So we're bringing it down?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a request of the commission?
Correct. And it is confirmed that they voted for this, and they have that on record that they wanted to do it.
So it's this one right here?
That is correct. That's the old one.
That's the old one, okay.
Sheila had a new one.
So I need to take that one out and then, okay.
Did you make that the motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's a probationary status, one of those. I want to make sure things are going to work out, and he's comfortable here, and I'll stay.
Okay. We have
I
a
think
new
she
one.
might have it. Are you okay with that, Polly?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion first, just on the position of maintenance superintendent. We're going to lower the hours from 2,080 per year to 1,820. We're also going to lower the base pay, base and COLA, so that they total $21 even. And that's going to also roll into 2026.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Anton, seconded by Nick. Are there any questions on that? All those in favor?
All right, Sam, will you be coming back in 26, wanting the changes?
Yes, this is just a probationary period.
Well, the money's there, it was in the budget. Okay.
Then I'm going to make a motion, we approve the rest of the confirmation summaries for the president to sign off on.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Nick. All those in favor? Motion carried. Do you have the updated one Sheila, for me to sign? Okay, I found the one with the incorrect rate. Pardon? The maintenance, yeah. I just don't want to sign the right one, or the wrong one. Yeah.
There you you.
Okay.
Right there.
Oh, well, here it is. I got it.
All right, so the salary ordinance, every year the council has to pass a formal salary ordinance by the end of the year. There's a deadline for this. It's a moving target because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of employee changes. We just did a bunch of them. Good news is, other than what we did with the health department, every employee change that's occurred to date is reflected in the document. So we're current. Now, tomorrow it won't be accurate because there may be an employee change tomorrow, but it's purely a snapshot of what we anticipate and what we decided on during our budget hearing process for wages on all of the positions. There's a couple of modifications that are also reflected in there. The first one is we are striking the evidence room manager position. We're not yet done with that. We're still waiting for a final job description and the proper classification for that position. So we're going to come back to that probably in January. So we didn't print it in here. We did update the maintenance superintendent's figure, so that part's in there. The other change was the ordinance number was assigned, and that should be on whatever copy Polly has. And what was the number, Sheila? 009 for that. We're still working on, if you remember EMS, we're still working on that. There's going to be a restructuring there. We're working or are engaged with 911 as well on a restructure. So there's some unfinished business that just was not finished by today, but that'll be at our next opportunity. And that's not reflected in here at all, so.
No problem?
I don't
Okay.
think so. Everything, I think, has been double-checked and the totals are accurate, so.
Okay.
The other thing I'll say is, at any time, obviously, month to month, we can always change things, modify. There's no finality to it in that respect. It's just purely, we got to have this formal document before the end of the year. The State Board of Accounts requires that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the health are not in there, so we'll have to, we'll have an update later for that.
So do we have a motion on the floor?
I make a motion, we,
Okay. Motion made by Nick. Is there a second? Second by Daniel. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay.
So what we'll do next is for 2026, the auditor's office is going to get a complete set of those summaries that we look at each month for the entire year for every employee, whether they're part-time or they're full-time. So there'll be those to approve at the January meeting, kind of confirming all of it. And Polly will have her arm worn off at that point from signing those, but.
but Anton, if there's somebody that leaves their position and we bring in a new person, how does that affect this sheet?
That's going to be through the normal monthly process.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a part of an employee change that'll automatically occur, and we'll document when that happens.
Okay, we don't restructure the whole document?
No, we don't need a whole new ordinance. We're just modifying our record and updating that accordingly.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
All right, on to elected officials and department head comments. Anybody have anything?
May I speak?
Yes. Yeah, please do.
I don't know how many of you know me, I think all of you do, but my name's John Stantz. I'm the current president of town council. So I give each one of you this estimate. The current situation with the sewer out that goes from Fifth Street out to where you guys are proposing your new jail is an 8-inch line, and according to Mr. Hobbs, the new line that's going to come from the jail is also an 8-inch line, which is going to make a bottleneck from the manhole on this side of 46 down to Fifth Street. So what we did, we've got two cost estimates here of replacing that line from the manhole down at the Fifth Street station from an 8-inch to a 12-inch to accommodate the jail, the school, the houses at White Oaks, is it White Oaks up top of the hill? Okay, and everybody else that's hooked up to it currently. The 8-inch line right now is working fine. You throw the jail onto it, which is a 24/7 operation, you're gonna bottleneck the service there from the manhole south. So anyway, there's two estimates here, and one of them sounds a little odd. One of them is a traditional, dig the line up, put a new line in, put the laterals back, put the dirt back. One of the problems with that is some of this line's 12 feet deep. And, and we have where it goes down along the road beside the school, there's a whole bunch of new fiber and stuff in there now that is crazy to work with. The other option is called a pipe bursting. And look at me, Burl. They actually have a machine that will go into the existing pipe and expand it out and put a new pipe in. The only place you have to dig up is where there's an attaching lateral, and it's significantly cheaper than it is digging the whole line up. So what they're estimating, and Commonwealth Engineering done this for, somewhere the low cost for the new line for the pipe bursting is 1.4 to 1.8. The traditional one is 1.8 to 2.4 million. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
And you just got one, bid?
No, this is just an engineer's estimate.
Oh, it's engineered,
he-
it's not no bid.
They've not bid this out or nothing,
Okay.
because here's the thing, town's not paying for it. County has to pay for it. It's just like a builder putting in a new subdivision.
John, will any of these costs be reflected on other people other than the county?
No,
I mean, we're increasing this, but it's going to benefit a bunch of people. Could it benefit even some more builders?
probably not unless somebody is building, and I don't anticipate that, building from the top of the hill or out on Joe Farai's property or something like, I don't know if there's any building sites out there or not, but not much, no. But this also gives you capacity in 15 or 20 years if you need to expand the jail. This gives you the adequate capacity to do that without doing anything.
Say someone was to build, maybe like that lot next to Walmart, would there be any kind of reimbursement costs to the county?
That would be between you and them, because that line from the manhole across that field is the county's. It's not ours.
So was that last 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet is ours?
Yes. Yeah.
So we would have control over somebody tying in?
If you wanted to they wanted to tap in, yes.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Still also gotta remember that you have to get an easement to even put that sewer across that field.
Now, how far do you go with this new line?
This new line goes from the Fifth Street station down next to the sports complex, due west, up beside, north of the school to the manhole beside 46. Yeah.
Down
Is
there?
that what failed during the flood?
Huh?
Was it that particular part that failed during the flood? It created all the damage at the high school?
The secondary pump at Fifth Street failed. We never got a warning, and that's what, because the water backed up in it and we didn't know it. So,
You say we need an easement, Sam?
Yeah, the people that own that field right there, we have to get, that's gonna cost. We have to run sewer from the jail across that field to that manhole.
Are we gonna get that before we make a commitment on the jail project? I'd hate to think somebody could hold us captive.
Hold you up on the easement?
Now,
Yeah.
is this bid figuring that in? I mean, is that engineer's cost?
That's just
No,
the
that's on-
sewer line.
No, that's on us. That running through the fields on us. They're working on getting prices on that. No, that's got nothing to do with that cost.
So hypothetically,
I hope so.
which is not a hypothetical at all, what if we don't get an easement?
Go around.
Get a sewer, go around it.
What,
You'll go down to the egress road and come out to the highway and come down the highway.
Costs us more money, but it is possible.
Is
now,
possible.
so from the jail site, it would go, how would it get to the highway?
Easement across that cornfield right there.
Correct, what if they said no?
They probably won't say no.
Well, if you got,
But what if they do?
that,
You have to go down the easement down to the other side and then come back down the lane.
Like down the drive?
Yeah, we don't have the choice.
And that changes substantially the price of us running sewer to the highway. Because you're, at that point, you're rebuilding a road.
It's gonna change a lot. We can't hook into the YMCA at Friday.
So, I'm not on the planning committee, but was this ever established before, like the easements of, like the conversations of, can we have an easement? Can we get that in writing? Has that been done?
They're working on it.
Oh,
No, they don't have these.
Seen this coming.
They've been coming for a long time, but they're working on getting the easement for the project. If not, you have to go down the road.
Sam, is the deal finalized on trading the properties?
No. We ain't switched the deeds yet. The deeds ain't gonna switch.
Would that be pending on an easement?
I would think so.
Like, that has to be, correct?
Could be, a good possibility. We'll know in a few days.
Cool.
I
So,
don't think it's gonna be an issue, but, you know, you can't guarantee nothing.
You start dealing with trusts and things like that,
Madam Chair, do you see us needing to have another meeting this year?
For this issue right here,
Whatever issue.
I don't think, I mean, because as far as the easement goes and everything, we don't have,
Well, yeah.
yeah, we don't have any say-so on that.
December 25th.
yeah, isn't that Nick's birthday too?
Yeah, my birthday.
Is that your birthday, Nick?
Yeah, it is. Oh, wow.
But, you know, what was alluded to earlier, I think it was Councilman Fry, about the future development. That's very intriguing to me because technically, you know, the county is paying for a significant upgrade of a line that others will certainly benefit from. And that's kind of par. But then later on, if you were to have someone come in and develop something or build another building or whatever would use that line, is there a way, and this is probably an attorney question, is there a way to have a clawback or some partial cost recovery that is placed on that developer?
No,
No. Okay.
there is not.
Okay. They just benefit.
When the developer builds, the onus is on them to provide to the manhole, okay? If they have to increase beyond the manhole for capacity needs, that also is on them.
But if it's already
It-
sufficient, then
If it was,
they're lucky.
if that had been a 12-inch line now, wouldn't have been an issue.
Got
But
it.
it's an 8-inch line and you're putting an 8-inch line on it. So when, the problem we see is when the jail's real active of a morning at breakfast and the school's taking place and everybody's getting ready at White Oaks, it all goes at once.
Sure.
You know, you got about a 2-hour span there and it's not gonna hold it.
Too bad we can't do like a coordinated flush.
No, yeah, it'd be nice. If we could do that, that'd be great.
Did you have something to say, Norm?
Yeah, I do have a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Spencer Police Department does put people in the jail, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a state law, state statute. They have no,
So I kind of have a, maybe it's a misunderstanding, it's a burr, I guess, in my saddle, that you would have no responsibility or no buy-in to this pipe being replaced, and yet we're housing your prisoners.
you have to house our prisoners by state law, okay?
I understand that.
Okay, but also, you're, I know it's the county, but you're no different than any other developer. If somebody was gonna put a data center out here, it's the same thing. Okay, I don't.
Yeah, please don't say that.
You can flog John now.
But municipalities, when they own the sewer plants, that's how they operate. There's because there might be benefit 20 years down the road, that's just what it is. I don't see, all our developers, it's gonna be to the east side of the county over here, folks. I've already got 4 people out here that want us to put sewer down 46 to the road that the school's on and make the loop around. They're looking at 400 acres. So,
Well, I'm just putting it out there, I mean,
I know,
it
I know.
seems like to me it's not equitable, but that's just me.
I know, and that's the question that's been thrown around.
Unfair.
If you go to any municipality, that's just about the way it works.
Would it be fair to assume though, would it be a fair ask for Spencer to have some sort of skin in the game?
We've already paid for for this engineering thing here.
How much
So-
was it?
I have not a clue. I ain't got a bill from them yet, but they've been working on it for 3 months.
Yeah, just the idea is, because it's gonna have a training center in it that it's gonna be
I do,
utilized.
I understand that completely.
And I know like Spencer probably will be qualifying from the arms range that they just developed.
No, we will not,
They won't?
no.
All right.
Uh-huh, we go to Bloomington, so. I know it doesn't sound equitable, and I'm sorry about that, but one, we have our own $13 million sewer project getting ready to take place, same time you guys are gonna be building the jail.
And where's it going?
We're
Where's just the
we're
plant?
redoing the sewer plant. So that and the Hart Street Station down here, on Crane Avenue.
So hypothetically, again,
Uh-huh.
if we were just to wait this out for a housing developer to build on the east side of town, we could hook on for free.
No,
No, because he'd probably just put put a 4-inch, not an 8-inch.
if you was over on that side, if you was gonna build a jail over there,
Yeah, say the east side of town where you're talking about a possible development.
I'd have to look to see how much capacity it had there, so.
Is this about where you expected the cost to be on your guys'?
I like the pipe bursting idea, as weird as that sounds.
I know that sounds really weird,
It's,
but this company that
it's
does
cheaper
this,
than projection.
well, it is, they have done literally thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of feet with no
Yeah.
problems.
That's the reason I don't know why you'd have to worry about easements if you're replacing it underground.
But you have to have an easement
Yeah.
across the
This
cornfield
is for
on the
our
north side.
access. Yeah, our access, which is also in the project estimation, too,
Yes.
part of that. So at the end of the day, it's money that's gonna be spent up front. Later on, it doesn't really matter
No,
at the
not
end of the
really.
day.
We're
Still gonna pay
make a
for it.
decision on what
Still
you're
gonna
up
pay
to.
for it. So, we just want it to be the lowest cost
Well, sure.
possible.
I want it to work.
Now, are we responsible for putting that out to bid?
No, you're not. No, the town will, because it's a town property.
At the lowest cost possible. And let me just clarify then, so if the town is gonna be managing this project and all that stuff, there'll be some kind of interlocal agreement then
Yes.
in managing this? And I would assume that there being two options, but it being a town project, the town won't just pick the highest cost and go with that. I mean, we're
We never
gonna.
have. We never
okay.
have, Anton.
We're gonna go with what's best.
We're gonna be what's best and most reasonable.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that's clear. Appreciate you.
And this goes out to like local bid as well, okay?
This will be local, the 4 contractors that Drew Flamian talked with, 2 of them from Kentucky, one's from Indiana, one's from Illinois. And that, they specialize in this pipe bursting,
Okay.
plus, and one of them, the one from Indiana is Graves down here at Swift City. I just bring you good news.
Thank you for sharing and communicating.
Okay, I mean, if you have any
Diane?
questions at all, give Miss Sheila, she'll get hold of me.
Diane, did you have something?
So an easement, the owners of that property right now would still own that. They just can't put anything permanent on it if they allow an easement to go through their property.
You can't build over the top of it. You can do about everything else.
But they pay taxes on it, they would still own it.
Yes.
The county would just have the right to build onto it.
Uh-huh.
You pay for these.
That easement probably will, because we're putting an easement across the field that, the water company owns on the south of the thing, is normally 20 feet wide.
And it's usually on the edge of a property. It's not going to go right down the middle of someone's property.
It will on this cornfield.
Oh, yes, they do.
It'll go right across the middle of it.
But then they won't be able to build on top of it. I guess that depends. I mean, I don't know.
Depends what they want to do
I
with
mean,
it.
I wouldn't want it going through the middle.
So,
The edge would be okay.
I don't know if they would go up a little more up towards the fence road next to Walmart. and
Right,
over.
that's what I'm thinking.
So,
Thank you for coming.
Hey, not a problem.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much for listening.
I had 2 items, Polly.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So real quick, just for closure on previous discussion, we talked about a highway equipment sale at the last meeting. We were talking about a possible new ordinance with that. That's a no-go at this point, correct?
I missed it, what's that say by John? Go ahead.
This was the highway equipment sale that fell through, is that correct? So we are not gonna have to worry about that?
Yeah, Dave is looking at another county, so we should have an update on that probably in a month.
So we're gonna just make a note that that's kind of pending further information, but no action is needed
That's correct.
now, okay. The other item was involving the assessor and the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. There was an inquiry, I think through the auditor's office, on confirming the per meeting compensation for members of that board. I think it's been $50, and we budgeted for 50, but it was suggested we needed to maybe restate that, or are
I just
we?
wanted to know, could he pay them more than the $50? But because that's what was agreed to, unless you guys take action on it, it has to stay at 50.
I'm gonna make a motion that we keep it at 50. And that's usually paid per meeting, per member. So if they meet 2 days, then that's $100. 3 days, $150, and so on. Okay.
Motion made by Anton, is there a second? Second by Daniel. Any questions on that?
What board was it?
The Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals.
They'll probably be
Peter
busy.
Another name for that?
Peterbilt.
Peterbilt.
Okay. And now I know what you're talking about.
All right, all those in favor? Motion carried. Any other elected official and department head comments?
Nothing?
Talk to everybody and they said adjourn.
Merry Christmas.
Have a great Christmas, everybody.
Any public comments? Anybody? No, I guess not. All right, so we're.
Microphones off.